Welcome to Backstage. I'm your host, Mr. Magic, the show where we talk to local and foreign artists about their lives, their careers, what are they doing, where they've been, what toothpaste they use, things like that. Well, my guest today has been in the industry of music for a very long time. And I say that because we've known each other since we were young. He's been off the island, on the island. He's been in every hotel you can name on this island, those that are standing, those that have been demolished. Mr. Wayne Davis. How you doing, sir?
I'm good. Morning.
Morning. Good afternoon and good evening.
Good evening.
Hey, listen, it's been a stretch, man. You have been popping in and out over the last 20 years. So let's start from the beginning. Let's talk about your musical career. Like, when did you first put your fingers to keyboard, or was that even your first instrument?
Actually, it wasn't my first instrument. My first instrument was drums. I have an older brother, 12 years older than me, and he played drums, and I had another brother just down from him who played bass. And they started, and the drums were there, so I started playing the drums, and I love playing the drums, but my brother got married, moved on, so the drums went with him.
So the band broke up initially.
Well, we weren't. They were in a band.
Okay.
I wasn't playing with them
Ah,
at that time. I was only maybe 10, 12.
okay.
And when the drums moved on, when my brother got married, so no more drums. My next brother was playing bass, so I was messing with bass, and he got married. That moved on. And the only instrument that stayed in the house was a piano that actually was purchased for my sister.
Okay.
So that stayed, and so that's the instrument I ended up on.
So no regrets, obviously.
No regrets, no regrets.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about this. So you've started out, you found your niche now, you're playing piano. Going forward from there, learning, who was one of your influences, or your teacher even so, to have you?
Well, I played largely by ear for the first part, and it wasn't until I was at least 16 and actually performing out that I started to go to a teacher. And one of the teachers who I looked up to, who taught me a lot, was Mr. Joseph Richards.
Okay.
Joseph Richards was an amazing guy, and he was highly regarded back in the day. And he was the type of guy that would, if you could absorb everything he knew in an hour, he would teach it to you. He would give it to you, because if he saw that potential in you. And I know I paid like my second term with him. I paid like half of my first term because he was so enthusiastic with me, and he took me under his wing, and he didn't try to reinvent me. He just enhanced what I already knew.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm not going to try and change you because you've already set in your ways. But so what I'll do is try to enhance what you already do. And he taught quite a few people. He taught the great Lance Hayward. He taught Reggie Goder, and then next to him, later on, after I was going a while, I met Jimmy Lendy, guitar player. Amazing guy.
Yes, I do remember the
Jimmy taught me. Well, some of the stuff I learned from Mr. Richards was above. I did it, and I did all the exams and all the theory, but by that time my theory was ahead of my playing, and Jimmy brought it all together for me. Jimmy said, like, well, it's just like, what Mr. Richards said, this, well, it's this. And he just brought it all together for me.
And this came with, like I say, knowing more technique in playing, as far as reading music as well,
Right.
and writing,
Yeah.
as well, and knowing treble clefs and half notes and whole notes, and
Exactly.
and the whole nine shebang. All right, so in this now, so you've got this lesson, you've been taught by one of the best. Where's your drive then to say, you know what, I want to do this? What were you doing? I mean, because we know in Bermuda, you may be a musician on the weekends, but Monday to Friday, you're a construction worker, or you're working in the bank, or you're pumping gas, or whatever job you're doing. Were you also part of that culture of music and working?
Well, to tell you the truth, I actually started, my first jobs were in the music business. And those days, it wasn't, you don't go to school for music so much. It wasn't a big thing. It wasn't like wasn't going to be a career.
Okay.
And so your parents push you in other directions. But because of my older brothers, we did eventually form a band. I was obviously the youngest in the band, and I was about 14 then. And when we did our first gig, and our very first gig was at Sands Secondary School for Valentine's Day, and 50 years ago this year. And my first gig, I realized
No,
that
I'm stopping you right there. See, when we interview around here, we don't throw years out like that there, okay? Because if I count the grades on your bird and mine together, we add up to about 70 years. But okay, so but it's good that things like that stick with you over that period of time.
Right.
So that you're 14 years old and you got your brothers, they're guiding you on to do this gig at Sands. More like, was it like a school dance?
it was school dance.
So all right, so you were part of that. So you were put in front of a strategic audience, as I like to say,
Right.
because they're young back then,
Yes.
and all they're excited about is they got a live band playing.
Exactly.
How'd you guys fare?
We did well. We went on from there, and we did quite a few gigs after that, and we ended up doing a regular thing at the old.
See, there's that old timers company, or some timers.
And
Go back.
I can't even remember the name of the hotel. It's not even there anymore.
Grotto Bay.
No, Flats, down at Flats.
Oh, Palmetto Bay.
Palmetto Bay.
Okay,
Very good.
Got your location.
Got to look to my seniors for these things.
I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna kick him in the shins after this. Yeah, but no, Palmetto Bay, and it's funny. My wife and I were talking recently about that place,
Right.
and what it represented back then, and the amount of people that came in and out,
Right.
of that place, as far as entertainers
Right.
and people from overseas. It was like I want to associate it with Hubie's Bar.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We all know, as well as you, the amount of people that came into this island to go around Hubie's to play on a regular basis.
Right.
And we're talking about big name people that slipped in and out.
Oh, yeah.
People didn't even know on the island.
Exactly.
You know, but they'll come in and go around Hubie's play. Palmetto Bay had that same draw. You know, and then we can go as far as to say what Clay House brought to it as well, you know, in that aspect of musician.
No, Sparrow's Nest was another place where they.
Very good.
Yeah.
That's right.
Sparrow's Nest was seen a lot of big boys.
Now, see, now you just hit those 50 and over. So
Yeah.
you mentioned Sparrow's Nest. There's nobody under the age of 25 that even heard of Sparrow's Nest,
That's true.
except for the ones that are out in the trees.
There you go.
All right. So you're getting this experience. And like you said, back then, no one was really encouraged to say, you know what, you can make a music career out there.
Right.
Because we were following entertainers around this island, you know, the likes of Gene Steed, the Strollers,
Right.
you know, oh man, I can go, the list goes on and on of those greats, you know, Hubert Smith, you know, all
Right.
these greats that we were following that had that, the Talbot brothers, you know, we
Right.
know all these guys. And what they were bringing to the local scene,
Right.
and being in hotels and
Exactly.
being visible, so that when visitors came to the island, they got the Bermudian experience. You know, like
Exactly.
Lord Chinapoo with the limbo dancing. You know,
Well, I was fortunate to come along at a good time because I actually got to perform on stage with all the names you just mentioned.
Yeah.
In my early days, I opened for some of those guys, or I can remember the old Castle Harbor Hotel. We were house band there, and every night we'd have a different show come in, and Hubert Smith, Talbot Brothers, the S.O. Steel Band.
Mr. Magic. In my early days, when the 4 Castle Harbor clubs done, I got in there a couple
Yep.
of times as a headliner.
Yep.
This was fun.
And we were there for quite a few years as a house band. And I got to meet. I knew all those guys personally, so and it was a good time to be coming up in the business.
No, and coming up in the business, were you getting like not? I mean, I know you were getting the support, but were you getting the advice from the veterans to say, listen, do this or do this? Because we, as far as from what I know, and we'll ask about this a little bit later in the show, but as a house band, you are playing to your audience. You're playing your cover band, basically. Playing, for what the audience was like and things like that. Did anyone guide you to say, well, listen, man, why don't you put out your own song or why don't you do this or make a little change in this direction, which will help enhance your career?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, we always look to those guys to, help guide us in the right direction. And also, I decided, a long time ago that was what I was going to do. And in order to stay in that business, you have to constantly learn. And you can learn from anyone. You can even learn from someone who's bad. You can learn the bad things not to do.
Yeah.
So every time I see someone or I go to listen to someone, I learn something. And sometimes it's something so simple because you might say, "Oh, they're not going to play that song. I hate that song." And then the audience reacts to the song, and you go like, "Ooh, that's interesting,"
Yeah.
you know. And so you always learn something if you have an open mind. And that's how I always go to a show with an open mind. I don't go with like, "Oh, I'm not going to go see Magic." I always go and see everybody. And even if it's a Magic show, I learn something about that I can use for myself.
Okay. All right. And we're going to be talking about more learning and learned things that you accomplished over the years. So when we come back right after this. So more backstage. We're going to go for a break. Mr. Wayne Davis sitting in with me today. And we'll be back right after this.